That creep that called himself a magician was doing little dumb tricks with napkin and balloon animals. Jasmine could hear Twyla clapping and laughing like a kid, while the other guests were beginning to fake enthusiasm. Still, no one had said anything on the other end, and Jasmine wondered if it was maybe a long distance call from America that was trying to kick in. You think you clever, so clever. A voice clearly coming from some type of voice box that made it sound like a robot speaking gave Jasmine an eerie jolt of fear. You wish to speak to someone or play games? Jasmine questioned sternly. Do want to make game? The voice asked. Hey, this shit ain't funny no more. Who is this? Jasmine demanded loudly, but not yet screaming. Du think du wenn, aber du de loser. Ha ha ha. Then the line went dead. Jasmine looked at the phone quizzically, wondering what could have that been about. She thought maybe it was one of the hash heads she had worked with from one of the studios who probably picked up her business card and thought he'd have some fun. That theory made sense to her as Jasmine replaced the receiver in its cradle. After all, she learned from experience living over here always to note on the back of each business card, please speak English. They were just having a little fun, but what was with the playing games and loser stuff? She was turning to leave for the dining room when she noticed from the corner of her eye, from the heap of clothes on the bed, again, that something moved. Now, something shifted, and two coats spilled to the floor. Jasmine hit the door. Woo! Jasmine said very loudly as she went tearing from the bedroom. The five heads of the dinner guests all snatched around in Jasmine's direction to see what was going on. Somebody in there! Somebody in there, y'all! Jasmine said and pointed. Once she got positioned near the door, Sasha got up as if to investigate, but Lisa put a hand on his. Oh yeah, I don't say this. My friend make visit by me. He very tired and he make me sleep in room. Twyla looked at Jasmine with a funny little smile on her face. Jasmine sat back in her chair next to Screw, the techno artist that made up the other half of the techno duo, Slam and Screw. All he wanted to talk about all night was his beautiful blonde girlfriend. Jasmine kept thinking, if she was all that, why ain't she here? But kept those thoughts to herself. He found out she was he found out she was a singer and they exchanged cards, but Jasmine didn't have much conversation for him, even if he could speak English above toddler level. Sasha had sat back down reluctantly. He looked like maybe he was going to use his investigating to escape the David Copperfield who just didn't know when to quit. Jasmine overheard Lisa ask Twyla in Deutsch why her friend didn't sleep in her room, and Twyla answered that her friend was more like a brother. That's when this fine man of about 30, 35 years maximum came walking his tall, muscle bound self out of Jasmine's room while pulling a white t shirt over his head and pulling it down over his upper, ooh, torso. Ooh, baby, baby, Jasmine screamed in her head. She noticed an exchange that Lisa and Twyla gave each other, like they had a big secret, then turned her attention to the handsome stranger, just the way that he tucked his shirt into his jeans, spelled sexy motherfucker. Standing wide legged, his head bowed, curls dangling before his eyes, he unbuckled his belt and undid the top button of his button down flies. threw his hair back. Jasmine noticed it was a little damp, smoothing it down with both of his strong hands, hands that looked like he could be the model for the statue of David. Yasmin, I say you drink tea? Twyla, who must have been talking to Yasmin and she just didn't hear her, repeated herself. Twyla was seated at the head of the table with Lisa to her immediate right, and both were looking at Yasmin. It finally registered Yasmin that Twyla asked what Twyla had asked, and she answered with, "Yes, yes, tea, yes." That's when Lisa busted out with laughter. She was clearly trying to keep contained. He spoke to everyone in Deutsch and shook hands with Sasha, Screw, and the magician, whose name Jasmine had long forgotten. He kissed Lisa, Twyla, and the magician's hippy dippy girlfriend on both cheeks. Jasmine was waiting her turn to be kissed twice when she turned to where he was seated next to Screw and said, "Hello, I Sadine." Twyla, "You Yasmin?" The tall, handsome stranger extended his well manicured but masculine hand to Yasmin. Yasmin thought for a moment that he was going to shake her hand, but instead he bowed slightly at the waist, took her extended hand in his, and kissed her knuckles tenderly. At that moment, all she could think was, why didn't I lotion up my hands better? Her hands weren't ashen, but she wanted them to feel much more softer. Other thoughts that were dancing in Jasmine's head were, my, what big eyes you have. If you were a brother, I'd swear you wore a Jerry curl. You tall. Ooh, you have the perfect white teeth. Hey, is that the best English you can speak? Sadim sat in the empty chair at the other end of the table and seemed to be enthralled with Jasmine. His eyes seemed to pierce hers whenever he would catch her looking at him, and Jasmine found it very hard not to stare. Why did Twyla serve the stupid sasiki with all this garlic? She knew her breath was kicking. He was seated across from her at the table, and Jasmine felt secure that he couldn't smell her breath from that distance. But what if he or she wanted to get closer? Yasmin, you come to the club tonight, yeah? Jasmine had to catch herself. She was being so foolish, but she had never been so fascinated in another human being as she was with Sadim Rashidi. Sure, is that when I get my surprise? Jasmine asked honestly. Lisa and Twyla exchanged a look and both started to laugh. Yasmin, you have this, Twyla said through laughter. Jasmine looked from Lisa to Twyla. Then reality dawned on her as Sadim got up, walked over to the living room area, and switched on the television. Jasmine wondered why he hadn't eaten dinner with them and what were Twyla and Lisa cackling about. Screw got up and joined Sadim on the couch. Apparently, they were watching MTV, and Screw was being critical of every artist whose music was being played. Sadim only laughed a little, seeming disinterested. Iced Dust MTV, Lisa yelled over the music to one of the men. Their group, long disinterested in the magician and his girlfriend, who had pulled out some tarot cards and was giving a reading to Twyla, gravitated gradually to the living area in MTV. Twyla's reading concluded, and Jasmine asked for a reading. Not that she really longed for a reading, she just wanted to avoid being too close to Sabine with her garlic breath.